and nobody in our unit yet had engaged anybody as far as actually being able to confirm that they had a hit on anybody. And we come around this bend, and I'm in a Bradley at this point in time, and we have a
what is a Bradley?
so it's a very armored fighting vehicle. It has a M242 Bushmaster on it. I'm in a special one. It's called a B fist, so it's for forward observers.
So is that the
It
big
has
gun?
a
Is that the big gun on top, the Bushmaster you just mentioned?
yeah,
Okay.
the 25 millimeter cannon
Okay.
is what it is,
I'm going to
and
try to
then
build out the visual for the audience because you're going to say stuff
yeah,
as a military guy that most of us won't understand.
yeah. So if they want to look it up, it's called the M7 B fist.
Okay.
And I was on the M7 B fist, and it had a 25 millimeter cannon on it. The 242 Bushmaster is what it's called, and it's coaxed with a 7.62. So there's a 7.62 that is on the same gun line as that 25. We have an option if we get into a direct engagement of whether or not we need to use the 25 or we need to use the 7.62. There's a rule that follows that, like on how you decide that. A lot of it has to do with one, distance, two, the type of target you're firing at. So if you're firing at personnel, most of the time you're not going to use your 25 mic unless they're in a vehicle or behind a wall or in a wood line. You'll use your HE 25 millimeter cannon rounds.
Okay.
And so I'm coming around a corner. It's nighttime, and I have my thermals on, and I'm looking through my thermals. And just to let you know, there's a difference of temperature of plus or minus 1 degree or zero point 0.1 degree that I can see on reflection on those thermals. So I can basically count your teeth at nighttime with this at 1,000 meters.
Are you
And
inside
so
the vehicle or are you up top on that gun?
I'm inside the vehicle in the turret.
Okay.
So it's a turret. It has a turret on top of it,
Okay, I got you.
and the turrets where the gunner sits, and the TC is what we call him, the commander, right?
Yep.
And so I'm in the turret, and I'm looking through the thermals, and I count 10 personnel crossing the road, and three of them have AK-47s, and but I'm 800 meters away from them. So I have a lasing device, and I can tell you exactly how far they are within a meter or within 10 meters. Um, and they were actually at 810 meters is how far they were. And I sit there for a second, and I'm looking at them, and I knew that they were legal targets to engage, but I didn't want to. This was like my first. I didn't think it would be this way, right? I thought engaging personnel would be I thought it would be just something that just happens, right? Just naturally, you'll just come up to your training, shoot, and it works that way. And it didn't work that way. I didn't want to fire, and but I'm sitting there counting them, and I'm excited. I'm getting more and more excited because I know that they aren't doing whatever they were supposed to do. And I called over my commander. Hey, I got you know troops in front of me. Three of them have weapons, and he was like, drop them all. And I'm still sitting there for a second, and he's like coax, and I'm lasing them. I keep lasing them. I keep watching them. And one of the guys with the AK-47, I don't know what made him compelled him to do this, but he turned around with his AK-47 and was pointing it at me. And as soon as he did, that was my first personal contact using a weapon with enemy. And yeah, so none of them made it out of there.
Yeah.
So that was my first engagement.
So you have to
The
call it in, which seems kind of okay. Well, yeah, we'll call it in, but you're also making the decision of what's going to
well, there's
occur at this point.
yeah, there is an escalation of force, right? Like if it's an immediate threat, I I don't have to call it in. I can obviously defend myself. I can defend my guys. I can defend my equipment. I don't have to call it in immediately. And in that situation, technically, I didn't have to call it in either. I could have just started, dropping these dudes because they were an immediate threat.
Yeah. I guess
And so,
I'm trying to feel the weight of making that decision. Like the weight of, hey, I see guys, three of them have guns, probably means something bad from where we're at, but I've got to call it in, and then there's going to be like the okay, and yeah, it's just that's a lot. That's a lot of weight.
there, there's a lot more that went into it than I figured. Matter of fact, on our way back from that, so my belief now, a moral code that I go by now, standard of living is I don't drink, I don't smoke, I follow a certain standard, and it's guidance from the church, but it's also just like standard, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, I did. Uh, so I was inactive from church, and I was a dipper. And right after that engagement, did you not, I was dipping and smoking a cigarette at the same time. I was so amped up. And then on our way back to the fob is what it's called, or the base, right? The forward operating base. On our way back to the fob, just like something in me changed. I can't explain it. I do know that nothing has been right since then. And I, something deep down inside of me changed. And I just felt really sad and I felt really dark. Um, I tried to talk about it to one of my NCOs, and he was like, "Oh man, that was awesome, that was good." And I was like, "No, was it though? What was it really like?" But yeah, I talk about our Afghanistan brothers and sisters, or I talk about some of these guys that had to fight in the Battle of Fallujah 1 and 2, or whatever. That's different. These guys are legitimately about to die. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
in this case, I was safe, and so it was just a matter of taking bad guys out of an area, right?
Right.
And so there was a moral challenge that I fought with myself that has not completely gone away since then.
I got you.
It gets easier sometimes, and I've definitely learned how to deal with it in different ways. But
Yeah,
so yeah, so
and you're how old at this time?
46. Oh, at
No,
the
at
time,
that time.
so 24,
24.
22 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's a. I mean, that's the age of a lot of soldiers, but I think it's good for us as we think about the positions that they put in. There's kind of that. I don't know if you call it that romance side of it. Like, what I mean by that is like me as a kid thinking about soldiers. Like my grandpa was in World War II. I was like, oh yeah, my grandpa was at war. But I've told you this, but my grandpa, 90 years old, explaining to me some of his battle scenes, it was tough for him to get through them. And he didn't go into the
Yeah,
details very much like what you've done, but emotionally, 70 years later, he's still feeling it.
it's very interesting. Matter of fact, but there's sociopaths out there. There's sociopaths in the army. There's not everybody wants to accept that necessarily. Army's good guys, right? No, there's sociopaths out there that are desensitized naturally to the effects of combat. Never envied those guys. Never have. Um, it's not very common that you see something like that. Matter of fact, most people that have actually gone through engagements at some point, one point or another, have had to live with accepting what they've done,
Right.
right? Um, and there becomes this almost this um, I don't know, this dichotomy of thought where I did what I had to do, but at the same time, uh, he was doing what he had to do.
Yeah.
What made me morally superior to him
Right.
that allowed me to make that call, right? Or
Yep.
is it just so happens to be that I had the advantage
Right.
technologically.